September is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. It takes courage for our next guest to share her story, but she does it in hopes she can spare others. Kim Hess's daughter, Cassidy, was the happy, outgoing cheerleader you'd never expect to see struggling emotionally. In 2015, she died by suicide. In their grief, loved ones found a cause. Cassidy Joined for Hope is now a student-led movement reminding kids everywhere you matter and you are loved. Kim is here to share her family's story and resources. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, let's talk about Cassidy. She was the child that a lot of parents would have wanted and a lot of other young girls wanted to be.
She was. I mean, she was such a joy to be around. She was the life of the party. She just lit up the room with her smile. She was just goofy. She was a cheerleader. I mean, she was, she didn't take herself too seriously, and she would be ultimately the last person you would think that would consider taking their life.
Yeah, no signs of a struggle at all. Now, we always say hindsight's 2020, where there are little moments that you look at, because sometimes those are the students who present the perfect face because they want to do everything right. They're pleasers, right? And so they hide what's going on. Looking back, are there anything that you can look at that you think, but not that it would lead to this, but anything that showed that life was not necessarily perfect in her world?
I mean, there are little things, and like you said, hindsight is 2020. Some of the signs of that a teenager may be struggling is that they're sleeping too little, they're sleeping too much, and are they withdrawing from the family or friends? And she was. I mean, she was sleeping a lot. She was in her room a lot. But aren't those just signs of being a normal teenager? So
exactly.
It wasn't on her radar.
That's it looks like you're right. Like most normal teenagers. All right. Multiple student deaths were happening in the Woodlands area at that time, and that's what got a lot of people's attention. A lot of times we don't report suicides, but when it becomes something that there were like about 6 CISD students that year.
There were, and this was back in 2015, and we just simply weren't talking about suicide. And so the fact that there were 4 before Cassidy, so she was the 5th one, and I didn't hear about any of the other ones before she took her life. And then there was one even after her, so she was right before Christmas, and we lost another one even between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, because that's the importance of talking about it. That's part of the reason why you're doing it. There were no red flags before, as we talked about, but she appeared fine that morning. Nothing crossed your mind that something was up.
Not before she left the house. I mean, it was just a normal morning at our house that morning. She kissed her goodbye, told her I loved her as she went out the door. But I would find out later from her friends that she wasn't normal at school at all. The girl with the smile on her face was sad this day. She wasn't smiling. In fact, she was crying throughout the day, which is very unlike Cassidy. Cassidy was a girl with always had it together with her smile. So her friends, asked her throughout the day what was wrong, and Cassidy every time said, "I'm fine. Nothing's wrong." So she was just hiding her pain behind that smile. And in the day, her cheer coach pulled her aside and asked her what was wrong, went through all the questions that teachers are trained to ask their students when they just know they're not acting right, and Cassidy answered every question perfectly.
So they were doing everything right.
Right, and so, but kids know how to mask behind a smile, and that's exactly what she did.
And oftentimes you will hear from, and it's in my family too, that you had no idea because they were good at masking it. All right, especially around the time when the decision has been made, right? That there sometimes can be almost relieved or even happier, right? Outwardly, at least.
That is true.
All right, you came home, you found that she had died, but she was revived temporarily, passed 6 days later on life support. One thing that you and your family chose to do was to share this openly, and for the reasons that we just talked about.
Right. We weren't going to hide behind the stigma and in any of it. We wanted to be transparent. One reason, because she was still alive and we were praying for a miracle, and so we were just asking for prayers from our community. But also, you just can't hide behind the fact that your child tried to take their life, and expect to help others, So we wanted our story to just be transparent from the very beginning, and I think that's what helped our community heal in a way, and it certainly is what helped our family heal.
And gave other kids a chance to realize, you speak up, there's somebody out there to help you. There is someone, you don't have to go through this by yourself. Just say something, somebody else can take your hand, but they have to know that they need to take your hand, right? You founded Cassidy Joined for Hope. You founded it at College Park Park High School, where she had been, and is with Cassidy's friends and families. It's a student-led club with a clear mission.
That's right, to prevent teen suicide and to make sure they don't lose another friend to suicide.
Yeah.
So what we started at College Park High School, we thought we were just going to start with just a few of her friends, and we just would talk about these hard topics, you know, just shine light in the darkness and bring in resources and get our students trained to look for the warning signs and know what to do, and just to spread hope throughout their school. So what started out, you know, as something small just grew into something bigger than we ever dreamed it would be. And so now we have it, we just got 2 more schools. We have 8 local schools and even on 2 college campuses. Oh. So it's just beautiful to see that these kids are using their voices to really make a difference.
Yeah, and there's power between student-led, because students sometimes will talk to each other before they talk to their parents. I mean, we have no idea what's happening in everybody's home, right? But sometimes they'll talk to a student before someone else, especially for a student who has awareness. Some things that will be done: purple out football games, right? Community kickball tournaments, guest speakers. Is now a recognized nonprofit organization, as you mentioned, spread to other schools, including LSU and UT. And it's not just people showing up and you know, talking, but you have guided mental health pros ensuring safe and accurate messaging as well.
That's right. You know, and then this summer we had our second Camp Cassidy, which was a 2-day camp where we had students and counselors just learning the signs of suicide and different resources, and just pouring hope into these students and building them their confidence up to go be advocates in their own schools.
Yeah, and also understanding the pressing issues. Now, you know, since the beginning of time, they've been pressing issues, but there are different ones they change, and we know that social media is a big one now.
Oh my gosh, you know, social media has changed everything. And it's really scary on, you know, the dangers of social media. You know, of course, you know, you have all of the comparisons and the fear of missing out and all of that stuff. But also, you know, now with the new AI technology, there's a lot of dark things.
Well, there is a family out of California who's filed lawsuit because of the fact that they feel like their son got guidance on how to carry out a suicide.
And that's scary.
That's very scary.
I mean, when they're using AI and ChatGPT for school, and they can turn into something completely dark and lead them, and even help them write his note. So it's very scary.
One of the things you want kids to have at hand is to emphasize the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. That's 988. It would be used like a 911 would be. If you're feeling any ideation whatsoever, to call that hotline, call somebody, a buddy, to talk you out of it. There's a gentleman that we've had on the show before who's amazing. He had jumped off the San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge, and was among one of the few survivors ever. And he talks about the fact that there's just this small window where that ideation takes root, that if somebody can intervene, that can change the trajectory of all those things. So that 9988 sign. You also lost another child, not to suicide, but at 19 from a sudden heart attack. I can't even imagine. But one thing that you have been able to do against the statistics is keep your family together, you and your husband as well. What advice do you have for anybody who's going through this type of pain?
You know, life is hard, and life will knock you off your feet when you least expect it. And that's when you need to just hold on and grab onto what anchors you, and that's our faith and our marriage, in our family. You know, there's just some things that can't be destroyed, and we weren't going to let evil destroy our family. So my husband and I made that vow in the hospital when Cassidy was on life support, that we weren't going to be torn apart because of this. And then we lost Hunter. That's when we had to just dig deeper into our faith.
Oftentimes when parents will lose a child through suicide, guilt sets in. And that's the other thing, you can't let guilt set in. Or, you know, they think people are judging us of what kind of parents were we. You can't let that stuff.
No, and that's just it. I mean, so many people attach shame to suicide loss and think that it's a reflection on their parenting, and it's not. I mean, suicide doesn't discriminate. It affects families, any family. And, you know, so, you know, you have to understand that there's a lot of confusion when you lose someone to suicide, and there is a lot of guilt attached to it. But, you know, suicide is also 100% preventable. So if we can start talking to our children when they're healthy and have this important conversations around the dinner table now, then we can make them feel safe to where they can open up to us whenever they need us the most.
And they know that they truly are loved.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, if you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts or a mental health crisis, you can call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. For more information about Cassidy Joined for Hope, including resources and school clubs, clubs. Visit CassidyJoinedForHope.com.